Hello, this is the first edition of the new show, Vermont Today, where we will be talking about issues of importance in Vermont today. My name is Terry Gerolman. My guest here is Ken Lawless. We both live in the city of Burlington. There are many people living in their cars here in Burlington. Some of them are senior citizens. In January, I met with a group of people in the mayor's office, and we spent an hour submitting a proposal, the following proposal, to try to help those who live in their cars in Burlington, especially the senior citizens. Here's what we suggested. Many people sleep in their cars in Burlington, including children and seniors. I estimate that as many as 20 such cars may be parked on the streets of Burlington this winter. Most of these people are waiting for subsidized housing, which they can afford. There is 1 to 2 year waiting list for subsidized housing in Burlington. This is now an emergency situation, which the coldest part of the winter is approaching, and these people must sleep with no heat in their cars since it isn't practical to leave the gasoline engine running all night. This puts senior citizens at special risk since they are subject to heart attacks, strokes, and falls, any of which could be fatal in a freezing car at night. If curbside electric outlets were made available for people sleeping in their cars, they would be able to plug in electric heaters and keep their vehicle comfortably warm all night. Since the space inside a vehicle is small, it doesn't take much power to keep it warm. Even in the middle of winter, a 1,500 watt hairdryer will do it. I tested it in my van last winter with a 1,500 watt electric radiator that I got from Home Depot, and it worked very well. The electric power lines run along the streets throughout the city, and it would be an easy matter for the city to provide outlets that homeless people could plug into where they park for the night. North Winooski Avenue, near the food shelf, would be a good location because many homeless people already park in that area, and the utility poles run along the same side of the street where people park. So it would be an easy matter to install outlets at the base of some of the utility poles. This is the most cost-effective and humane way for the city to take care of their homeless residents who wish to sleep in their cars. The current alternative is the weigh station run by COTS. The weigh station has the same cost of fuel to keep their residents warm, but they also have all the other costs associated with maintaining a building and the cost of personnel to manage it. When a homeless person lives in their own car, they take responsibility for the facilities themselves. Several residents of the weigh station have told me that they would much prefer the independence of living in their own car. The city could both save money and make their homeless residents happier and safer by providing curbside electric service to those who wish to sleep in their cars. This is a proposal we submitted to the mayor in January, and he indicated that he would look into it. Unfortunately, the past winter, it wasn't able to be implemented, but we're hoping that next winter there will be something for those who live in their cars. Do you think this will be widely used by the homeless community, Ken?
It's an obvious need, and if it's instituted, it will be universally used. Everyone will plug in rather than shiver in their car, van, or pickup truck. They will plug in. This is very good. Now let me briefly explain my own experience here. I arrived in Burlington in May of 1999 in a borrowed '87 Chevy, and slept in that for a while until the owner of the Chevy needed it, and then I was in weigh station, where the very nice people at Day Station, the Committee for Temporary Shelter, helped me with paperwork, and by Halloween I was in St. John's Hall, which is owned by the state, managed by the Burlington Housing Authority, and still has COTS caseworkers there. So I now have very comfortable housing, and I'm grateful to everybody who helped me get it. And I wish other homeless people might have it. Burlington does not have a shelter which will accept people simply because they need shelter. Burlington shelters are available to people unless they've been drinking any amount of any form of alcoholic beverage. And if they have, they're not allowed in at all. So the so-called hardcore homeless or permanent homeless are virtually all of them people who smell like alcohol when they show up at Way Station and don't get in. And let me give an example of the tragedies that can happen because of that. And this is a very popular local man, and many people here will recognize him. They are and always will be friends of his. His name is Steve Thompson. He was homeless here for about 30 years, he said. And he had a cannon route that he started about 2 in the morning. And there's a good reason for this. By that time, the parties are all over and the empties are in the trash receptacles or on the porches. And he would go by the fraternity houses and down Buell Street and up Winooski to the food shelf. In fact, you can see that he's standing in the parking lot of the food shelf, and he has the black plastic garbage bag almost full of empties because he's just turned them in at the Bottle Redemption Center. But February of 2003 was very cold, and he was sleeping in a, well, I guess the owners had called it a carriage house. He called it a horse barn, not far from the Taft School. And he must have been damp. At any rate, he found himself with his feet numb and the skin from, dark green to dark gray, and he was convinced that he had frostbite and would have to have toes, maybe even feet amputated. And so he hanged himself on February 25th, 2003. Had there been a shelter that would, had he been indoors with, roof over his head, central heating, indoor plumbing, he certainly wouldn't have done this. People who are homeless for a long time are subject to depression, and people who are depressed for a long time are subject to despair. Now, we lost Steve Thompson, and we will continue to have such tragedies and depression and despair until we find a way to get everyone who needs shelter into shelter. So I hope that that can be done, as well as the electricity for people living in their cars, vans, and trucks.
America is the richest country in the world. How can it be that people must live in such situations here in the heart of America, in one of the leading cities of the original 13 colonies, Burlington, Vermont? We must also consider the situation with the shelters. Ken, you said that anyone can go to the shelter, but if they're not drunk or if they don't smell of alcohol. But there's also other problems. At the shelter, there's an intake interview, and one of the questions they ask is, how much money do you have? And if you have anything, you'll be rejected from the shelter, or maybe you'll be allowed to stay a day or two, and then you're out. But there's a big gap between having nothing and having the billions of dollars that Bill Gates has, or Warren Buffett has. And what if you're just a normal middle-class person, or somewhat below the middle class, and you don't want to be totally destitute, but on the other hand, you can't afford to rent a motel room every night? You won't be accepted by the way station or by the shelters. And then what do you do? And this is where the car dwellers come in. So maybe you freeze to death in your car during the winter, or in the summertime, it's almost as bad. In the middle of the summer, the back of a car can be like an oven. But if you're a senior citizen, you might want to take a nap during the afternoon. But if you take a nap in the middle of the summer in the back of your car, you're likely never to wake up. We all know that a closed car can be deadly if it gets too hot. Yes, well, we're running out of time now, and I hope that people have learned something by our discussion, and we will have to continue with the next program. You're welcome to send emails My email address is gerolaman@alumni.neu.edu, as you can see printed at the bottom of the screen. And we will see you with our next mission. Thank you.